Call the meeting to order, stand for pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. The minutes held October 15th at 6 p.m. for the lease finance hearing minutes in the high school library, room number 212. Entertaining a motion for approval of those minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. The regular session held October 15th, 2022 at 6:21 p.m. in the high school library, room 212. Entertain a motion for approval of those minutes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Executive session held October 15th, 2024 at 8:09 p.m. in the high school library in room 212. Entertain a motion for approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Authorization for payment of bills. Do they have any questions?
I did have one, it was just, curiosity, I think it was on credit card, the audition. I was just wondering what that was, for several different kids.
I can explain that one if you need me to. So it was, Kim Henry. There is, I forget the letters, but it's, not Eagle Choir, but it was open to 4th and 5th grade students that they could audition to be a part of, the choir at the music conference, kind of like Lisa took, has high school kids. Well, they've opened it up to elementary kids. And so
Okay.
that is what that is, but she had to run each of them individually, so I think there's like maybe $10 deals. That's what it is. It's for each kid that auditioned. So.
I had one. D-Cars, Doug Palmer.
Yeah, we bought a scissor lift, not too long ago, which will help out with the bus wash, but also, for Gary and for Steve, every time they go get that lift that you push around. And so anyways, Rich Green found a good deal on it, so that's what that is.
Okay.
Any other question? Not entertain a motion for approval of the payment of bills.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Citizens' communications. Your kind and thoughtful expression of sympathy is deeply appreciated and gratefully acknowledged. Knox County Board members, thank you for the beautiful plant. It will be a wonderful tribute to my mother's memory, Sherry Mock and family. Dear Knox County Board of Directors, the ivy with full accents was a very thoughtful gift to be delivered at my mom's visitation. Knox County R-1 has been incredibly patient and supportive as my family and I have been through this sad chapter in our lives. I have even more reasons now to be grateful about being a part of this community. Thanks again for your thoughtfulness. Truly, Wendy Kirby and family. Okay, move on to administrative reports. Elementary.
So we've been busy. I feel like I tell you guys that every time, but we really have been. We had our district-wide Veterans Day Assembly last week, and some of you were there to help, so thank you very much for that. That's greatly appreciated, so thank you. We've done some more testing. Honor Roll Assembly still seems to go off very well. We celebrate a lot of kids for their successes. It's nice to celebrate their academic successes. So that has been a big hit. Our 3rd graders went to Jefferson City in the fall this time rather than in the spring. Last year when they went, they said, hey, why don't you guys come in the fall? And it's a little more active because, you know, when we go in May, it's pretty dead. You know, everybody's gone. So they weren't in full session, so they didn't get to see a lot of things, but there were more people for them to kind of engage with. But the Capitol is also undergoing some construction and renovations right now, so they weren't able to get to all the spaces that they have been before. But they still had a great trip. They really, really enjoyed it. A big thing that we had was an author's visit. Aaron Reynolds, he writes Creepy Carrots and My Creepy Underwear and The Creepy Crayon, things like that. And the elementary kids loved it. Those are the pictures that are attached on the bottom. Yep, so that's Aaron Reynolds. And we were able to do that through a co-op with Nemo Library. So like when he came, he also went to a couple other schools. So that's kind of a nice thing that we get through that co-op project. So thanks to Mrs. Vandal for putting that on for us. Some things that we have coming up this week, we have Fall Fun Night. It's our activity night. So some of the feedback that we had from parents last year, because last year we did the spring Bring Your Parent Night, was that they still liked the just the kid night too. So the fall night is just kids who stay after school, do math and reading activities, breakouts, snacks and crafts. And then we'll run the spring one the same way of where we have the parents come that time. We're doing mid-year assessments. We're starting Eagle Choir. We've got the Christmas programs and the book fair on the books. They happen at the same time. So you'll notice that those are on December 11th and December 12th, and more information will come out about those. And our PTO tournament will be in January, not as early as it has been in the past, just because of how our break falls, because normally it's that first week of January. So it's a little bit later, so if anybody's looking for something fun to do for a couple days, come on out to the PTO tournament, we'll put you to work. And the other thing, do you want me to introduce you now, like our new guy now, or do you have a spot for her later?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, many of you already know, but we have our new employee, Floki, and so we have Mrs. Miller here, and she was gonna briefly talk about Floki and introduce you guys to Floki.
He's sleeping on the job.
He's ready.
Doc is pay.
So yes, as many of you know, Floki joined us back about a month ago now. He is 16 months old, and he is an English. Are you gonna come sit? Nope. You sit. English Labrador Retriever. He has done a great job. The kids and the staff are loving him very much, and he is loving them. And so just very happy that he's here. I thank you guys very much for your support in this. Do you guys have questions, like anything that I can specifically answer for you about him?
What does Floki's day look like? I mean, is he just making the rounds with you all day?
He
or
is
does
always with me, just doing whatever I'm doing. So helping with classroom lessons, like we had group sessions today, we had individual sessions today. Just helping kids and staff in any way that he can. So
Do you find it as an icebreaker for children to come to you more easily with him as like an icebreaker type thing?
Yep. We've already seen that a couple times where some students have had things going on in their lives outside of here, and were a little reluctant to talk to a human. And when I went to the room with him and said, "Hey, Floki wants to know if you want to come spend some time with him," they, of course, were like, "Yes," and they told him all about everything that was going on in their life, even though I was sitting right there. And so, that's obviously one of the great benefits of these kinds of dogs. We have a couple young students who have actually been attacked by a dog before, and so he has really helped those students kind of already start to like heal and recover from that, because they've realized, not all dogs are mean. And so, he's doing great work. He not only comes with me here, but my dad is in the nursing home, and so you got the hiccups, buddy. I've never seen him have the hiccups before. He goes to the nursing home, and we've been there already today, and the elderly residents over there love him just as much as all the littles over here. So, any other questions?
Great addition for sure. So.
Yes.
He's really well behaved. I got to see that firsthand.
Well, he's supposed to be. That's always my hope.
Laughing and everything, and
Yeah.
he didn't move.
So, I try to, one of the big things is, keeping him socialized as much as possible, not only here, but like I said, we go to the nursing home, and like we've taken him to church, and you know, like being at the Veterans Assembly, the band, all of that kind of stuff did not faze him one bit. I put him in a downstay position, and like I walked all over that gym helping the kids and stuff, and he didn't even move. Half the time he was asleep, and you know, he's the same way here at school. I can put him in my room, and he just stays there till I tell him to get up. And there are a few people in this building that I won't name any names, Mr. Turgeon or Mrs. Vanoy, that love to get him a little bit wound up, because he is a pup. He's 16 months old, and if he knows when, you know, the vest comes off, he gets to be just a normal dog. And so they got to see that the other day.
This is a nice playground for him.
Yeah. But yeah, he's doing a great job, and it definitely has been a lot of work. My life changed dramatically, both professionally and personally, but I don't regret 1 minute of it. So,
Well, we really appreciate all that you've done, taking this on for our school district.
well, thank you.
Thank you.
If anybody wants to pet him, they can pet him too. I just wanted to kind of stay over here out of the way, so don't feel like you can't pet him, because that's what he lives for, so.
Maybe he can make his rounds at the table.
Hey, Skin.
Give him a little pat.
I can't believe that won't be any, I mean, at that age, you're still pups, I've got a lot of pups
Skip
now.
Mrs. Benoit, and Skip's Mr. Turgeon. No,
What is he, he's a Latin or what did you say?
he's an English Labrador Retriever. He's full-blooded.
Hey, wait, I haven't seen you before.
I think he could be hybrid, it's not much, it wouldn't take much to get him hybrid.
He's like,
He was checking you out the entire time.
no, nibble.
We have to always feel bad for
Now come back over here and listen.
Yeah. He knew his game on, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Who gets to talk back?
Yeah, exactly. No pressure, no pressure. All right, I will talk about a few things here, and then we'll get attendance. We've, as many of us know, we have children around that had a little sickness going through, so attendance has taken a bit of a hit there. 8th grade, the middle school seems to be getting hit a little bit harder right now, so. Other than that, kids have been very, very busy. I will save most of that for December. We have special guests to talk about their trip to National Convention, so I want to save most of the time to let them take it away.
Fantastic.
Go ahead. Okay, you're up.
Yes, please.
You guys can take over the screen if you want.
You're not moving first. She has to probably.
So before I turn it over to them, we had just so much going on in the ag department that I decided I couldn't wait till we normally present in April. So just a little bit about what we have going on. We are 55 members strong this year, which is the highest number I think we've had in a few years, so I'm really happy with that. And they're really active members. They participate in everything we do, show up when I need them. They're really good members. One of my favorite days, oh, I repeated the pictures there, shoot. But one of my favorite days is when the Green Hands get their jackets. You can see Patrick Clark was very excited there about getting his FFA jacket that day. They will talk about it more, but we had Ryan Hall and Tyson Gilbert receive their American degree at National Convention. 1% of FFA members receive this degree, and it's the highest award that you can receive in the FFA organization. So we are very proud of them, for receiving that award. Let's see, Kirsten, you wanna tell them about the drone and then I'll play the video?
So, what was it, August, I think, like, very beginning of August, Maddie found a video on Facebook from Pegasus Robotics saying that an FFA chapter anywhere in the United States could win a drone. You could enter in a 60-second video, and we blew it off. We're like, no, that seems pointless, there'll be a bunch of people. And then Crop Science, which is a class with Ms. Dobrinsky, it's new this year, right? So it's the first year she's done it. We were sending class one day, and she's explaining like the stuff we're gonna get to talk about, and she starts talking about like drones. We're gonna go over like stuff like that. So I was like, let's pull this video back up, let's try making one. So we started in class and we brainstormed for probably 3 days trying to figure out what to do, and we decided that we were going to make a song with our music videos. So we had Miss Setzer help us make a video and song. So she used some different AI apps to help us create our song and all the lyrics, and then we did all the videoing with all our members and put together a video and sent it in, and we made it to the final 4.
And this was nationwide.
Yeah. So there's 4 videos posted on Pegasus Robotics YouTube channel, and we are working very, very hard to try to get as many likes as we can so we can win this drone. So we've pushed it out, we've went to businesses and talked to them to have them post a QR code. We've posted it on Facebook. We're trying very hard, but
And it's really just 2 of us in contention, us and Karuna.
yeah.
And we are like way ahead of everybody else. But we are 10 votes,
We're
I think, when I
usually
looked
10, like they go
yesterday.
up 10, we go up 10, it's just like
Yeah,
back
we're
and
kinda
forth
back and
battle.
forth. So here's that video. Oh, TV. It's TV.
It's a very catchy tune.
It is.
I sing it all the time. I never watch it.
In the field, I'm ready to go. FFA competition, let the knowledge flow. Real world experience, see how we grow. Licenses for spraying, we're putting on a show. We're flying high above the crops. Precision farming, we won't stop. Learn all together, that's how we roll. Collaboration's key, let's reach our goal. Farmers unite, let's take a stand. With our drones, we'll change the land. Inviting all to come and see. The future of farming is where we'll be.
Pegasus Robotics, Knox County FFA would greatly appreciate this grant.
The real world experience would greatly benefit our rural youth.
So that class worked really, really hard on that video, and I thought it turned out really cool. Obviously, I'm proud of them already for making the top 4, but if we're gonna be in the top 4, we might as well go ahead and win it. So, I will put in my plug, please get on YouTube and, vote for our video. So, let's see, Maddie, you wanna talk about our hydroponics?
So we are doing a lot in the greenhouse and with our hydroponics. They are out in the cafeteria right out here. You can see them. Right now we have planted in there lettuce, cilantro, and chives. And we harvested them last week or this week? Last week. And Kisha got to use them in the kitchen for some of the salads. So that was really awesome to see. And then in the greenhouse we have cucumbers planted, and they are in raised garden beds. They are doing awesome. And then we also have the peppers and tomatoes planted. So we're just waiting on those to grow, and then those will go to Kisha to use in the cafeteria on the veggie bar.
We have every greenhouse student also started an herb garden. So they have planted cilantro, thyme, we have some lavender, dill, what else, chives, sage. So this was their first harvest. I allowed them, if they wanted to take them home to use for cooking, they could. And we're actually gonna use some of those. We're gonna cook the end of this week, and we're gonna use some of their fresh herbs that they've been growing. And we've harvested those probably 3 or 4 times at least,
Quite
if
a
not
bit.
more. So they like going out there and getting fresh herbs that they've grown. This fall, we tried something new in the greenhouse. We grew mums, and they went over really well. We did not have a single one left from our sale. We tried something new. I constantly hear, well, I don't know when you're selling, or I don't want to go out to the school. So we went to them uptown. I have Maddie and Lila are my flex students. So for 2 weeks, we went and set uptown and we sold our mums, and they sold great. The first time, or the first evening we did it, I think we sold over 35 mums. I also had, again, Maddie and Lila, they went to businesses and planted. So we went to Bobby Clark's and Hawkins, and they planted landscaping for both of those businesses. We also, we went up to the courthouse as well, and we planted 14 mums up there around their memorial, and then in their flower boxes as well. It was something, I got a lot of positive feedback from the businesses in the community about this. So in the spring, we will for sure be going up with like our regular flowers and hanging baskets and doing that as well. So our big new thing that we are going to be doing this spring, we are going to have some chickens in the playground area. So we are going to be building a coop, kind of like that, not exactly. We're gonna plan for a 10 by 12, which will hold up to 20 laying hens. So we are hoping that those eggs can go to the cafeteria and to Mrs. Hutchman for use in the kitchen and their classes. So we're gonna have a concrete pad that the coop is going to be on just for ease of cleaning. And then we're gonna have a storage space for bedding, feed, everything else that we're gonna need. We are gonna have a big fenced-in area so that the chickens can roam, run free, and so that the elementary students can interact with them during recess or whenever they are out there. I have already been in contact with Austin Snelling, and they're gonna come out and look at the area to go ahead and start building the concrete pad. And then Mr. Green's classes are going to build the coop hopefully this spring whenever his schedule allows.
This fall, I don't remember the exact date, but we had a fun shoot with Doubled Up Outfitters, and we spent a lot of time out there. It was a great time for all who came. So a lot of our members came out and helped with that as well. Track shooting, we had 20 kiddos. We had enough for a girls team, but because of softball and different commitments, they weren't always able to shoot together. So that's something that would be nice in the future for them to be able to have their own team. But we traveled lots of different places. Columbia, Bosco's quite a few times. So I always enjoy watching how they kind of grow and advance throughout the season. So, but this fall, Mrs. Dobrinsky and I started the process of writing a grant with Nancy's input on a few things for the school that I have no knowledge of what the numbers are and where to find the paperwork, but we're hoping that the grant will, it should be about a $13,000 grant to help pay for the ammunition for the parents, because we all know that shells are very expensive. So, you know, I know in the time that Daniel and Bradley were trap shooters, I don't remember how much money I spent on shells, but it was a lot. And then we also, the grant would hopefully also help pay for the clay pigeons that the FFA has to pay for, so that'll help with that to offset the cost, because they go through a lot of clay pigeons. It's kind of similar to the grant that we wrote 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, that we received the thrower for. So we have the thrower, which is so nice. I love that thing. It's a lot easier to transport because it's on wheels. We didn't have to carry it out to the gun club, to the trap house anymore. So it's on wheels. It's much easier to maneuver. So, but I think the kids enjoyed themselves. A lot of them, you know, a lot of this is the kids who don't normally get involved with, you know, football or basketball, so for the kids who, you know, this is something that they can do for the rest of their lives. So continue with that shooting sport forever, so it's definitely a skill that, you know, helps them evolve and take on leadership roles and to help the younger ones, because the seniors or juniors will stand behind the freshmen when they're a little unsure of what exactly they have to do, because they haven't been through like the 4-H shooting sports program yet, or haven't ever done that. So it's very interesting to watch them step up and take on that leadership role. And I'm just their biggest cheerleader, so that's about it. So is there anything else?
Your uniform then.
Oh, I've got my trap shoe, you know. That's about all I get. It says coach on the back. So I love it.
Are there any questions for myself or Mrs. Hamlin before I let them take over?
Did you reach out to the news stations for the YouTube? Trying to
Oh,
get-
the YouTube.
We actually
we-
talked about that.
We talked about it, but no, we
We
haven't.
don't know how to get in contact. They were at school for Miss Hutchman's class, I think. We thought about going to talk to them, and then we all got scared. But we have thought about trying to push it out there. Mr. Turgeon's idea is we need to stay on the down low until the very end, and then we just need to hit them with our hardest powers.
Strategic.
That's where the news needs to be involved.
Yes,
Yeah, what is it?
and
11th hour.
I'm your person for the news, so just come find me, we'll make it work.
Okay.
We'll do that.
We'll do
Good
a
luck,
real
guys.
live action dance.
Just a QR code on the stage trying to have time to do something.
Heck yeah. All right, take it over. It's you, you're up.
You gotta stay up here.
I'll
Okay,
stand behind
this
you
is a
and support.
presentation of what we did in National Convention and everyday agenda, I guess. Okay, so day one was the road trip. It was the first day of full driving, so we didn't really do much. We stopped for lunch at one of the big FFA supporters at Culver's. Then we got to Indianapolis and we got settled in, and then went and ate to explore downtown Indianapolis. And then we tried to visit the Soldiers and Sailors Monument every year, and then that's us at the bottom. It's really cool, actually. It's cool. And then day two was opening ceremony. Opening session consists of a meeting with the national officers. We got to listen to comedian Kevin Williamser, who talks about leading with laughter and looking at the bright side of life. After opening ceremony, we headed to the expo for kids and movement businesses, exhibitors, and college. Later in the evening, we participated in the Harvest Nights in Newfields, and those are the pictures of us.
So what is Harvest Nights?
Do you go to the next slide?
Okay, who wants to talk about this?
So Harvest Nights was just a fun activity that we did this year after opening ceremony. It was kind of like a trail of lights, kind of like Christmas lights, but it was fall, like Halloween lights, and it was an art museum. So like I think it was art students that they like made all kinds of sculptures and carved all of these jack-o'-lanterns. So we walked through that. It was pretty cool to see all the artwork of all of the people.
There's also like this big house that we went into that was like different levels, and you walk through it, and it was all like huge setups that they had made.
And then this is some from opening session. So it's a big thing. Every morning before like we start something, they have a big dance party. So all of the 67,000 FFA members go onto the Cold Stadium, and that's how they wake us up in the morning, because it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. So that's how they keep us awake. So that's the video of that. We're all dancing.
Just everybody crammed in there, screaming, jumping, yelling.
You get hit a couple times, that's fine.
I went back to my seat.
It was not enough.
And then the video that played before, I don't know if you can play it again, but that was the National FFA Band. They did a performance at opening session, which was really cool to watch.
It's actually really good.
It's really good.
And I'm working, Elliot Bosch went this year, she's a sophomore, who's very active in band. And I kind of kept nudging her next to me, and I was like, we need to do this, and I don't know if I got her convinced or not, but.
So then day 3 was our tour day. We had a tour at the Chocolat Chocolate Factory, where we learned where chocolate comes from and the different steps and ratios of ingredients in chocolate. And we even got to make our own FFA chocolate pops. In between tours, we stopped at the National FFA Center, where we got to see some cool historical pieces, and we even got a cool picture from completing a scavenger hunt / riddle. After lunch, we headed to Traders Point Creamery, an organic grass-fed dairy. We got to hear history of how the creamery came about and how they raise crops and make dairy products. We later went and ate at the Yard House because the seniors missed their senior night home, so we brought it to them. And then there's pictures from our tours. And then day 4, Tyson and Ryan got their American Farmer degree. American Farmer degree is the highest FFA degree members can receive. This is a true honor for Tyson and Ryan.
Can you tell us a little bit about the American degree? Like what does it take to get that?
So you have to complete your state degree, which is one you get in high school, and then after your state degree, it's 2 years after high school, you will receive your American. So you apply for it just as you do your state degree. So it's just like an application, and you have to complete so many things, and then receive your American degree.
And it's based off of like how active you are in your FFA chapter, what activities you go to, and then it takes into account your SAE and how productive your SAE is, either in money wise or in hours.
And that is by far our longest day. Miss Mallet wakes us up at 5 a.m., which is actually 4 here. So
And they're
we
all
are
so happy and smiling, and they just can't wait to
We
get up.
get to sit through every single state before
Yeah,
us.
because it goes
Because we're
through
right in
every
the
single
middle.
state, and we're right in the middle, so we sat there and wait. Oh, finally, and we got there at
Been there, done that.
6 this year, I think, and didn't leave till 11, and we had only made it to Missouri. So,
Also at the American degree ceremony, FFA has a talent show for like all members, and this year a rapper won, and he sang for us at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was pretty good, pretty fun time to listen to.
Yeah, they were all like, what is this? And it was like an original FFA song, and they were like, this is not good. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, yes, FFA, FFA. Like I was getting into it and they were not.
Any questions about our time on National Convention?
The milk, was it grass-fed or organic? What did you say it was?
Well, so it's a grass-fed
Grass-fed
organic
dairy.
dairy.
Yeah. So where do they market there? Where do they market that? I mean, out in Indiana, I mean, is there a big market for that, or is it a little niche market right there in Indiana?
They say there's a large market for it. They were 30 minutes outside of Indianapolis, so they got a lot of people who, like, they had a garden, they had the dairy, and they made like their own dairy products, cheese and ice cream. So they were definitely, people would go there for the experience, kind of I get to see where my milk comes from, I get to see where my vegetables come from. And they said that a lot of people were very loyal to them. Like they would, bring their milk jugs and they would fill them up every week because they just, they were that loyal to their brand. So we took the dairy expert with us over there, and he makes sure to fact check everything they said.
Did you sample the milk?
Yeah, it wasn't good.
They did not enjoy it. Yeah, they
they
didn't like
told
it.
us that they used to ship out to other places, and then they had realized that it was just better off for them to stay rural and have people come to them, so they had brought everything back to their dairy and had people coming there.
I guess that was kind of my question. Did they send their milk
Yeah.
off like your dad would send your guys' milk off, right?
No. And
They kept theirs on the farm
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
sold
kept
their
it on the
products right
farm.
there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Any other questions?
The chocolate was good, by the way.
They got the sample.
I was gonna say,
Some
we
of
did
you
bring
guys
back
did. I was
chocolate
gonna say
pops.
some of you got the sample.
The chocolate factory was so awesome. The guy that gave us our tour, it was like a family-owned business. So it was the husband and the wife, and that was the husband, and he was very passionate about his job and about his chocolate. We learned lots of interesting things.
Was he choking? I'm trying to
No, that's
He
he was
was
probably
just
laughing
so-
at us or something. He was so interactive with us, and
I think he likes
you
his
could tell
chocolate.
he liked his job. He was.
He's not joking. Nobody's helping. him.
And they actually, I talked to the wife, me and her talked for quite a while, and they provide all of the, like in the executive suites at the Indianapolis Colts, They make all of the, like the milk chocolate footballs that get put in those sweets, and like they give them a huge basket. She said like thousands of dollars of chocolate every Sunday they get in their executive suites that they provide for all of them. And they actually got to see how they make like the milk chocolate football and kind of how that process looked as well.
Sounds like y'all had a great trip.
It was very fun. It's always
National
fun.
Convention is always something we all look forward to every year.
How many it normally goes? I mean, that may be an answer I should know that. How many children or students go to that normally?
11.
11.
11, yep.
That's just the number no matter what, or does that ever fluctuate?
I usually only take 12. Why that number? I just always think to myself that 12 is just as many that I can keep corralled around me at one time. So I just always kind of stick with 12.
So with 55 FFA members, how do you decide the next year? Like if you have repeats from this year, are they not allowed to go next year? How do you make that decision?
So we have a chain kind of precedence. It goes with seniors first, and then seniors who have never gone, and then the rest of the officers, and then it just goes by class on down the line. They have to fill out a application that consists of 5 essays about what they would bring back, why they believe they should go, what qualities they have that would make them a good candidate, and then I send that to a committee of teachers here at the school, and then they select who gets to attend.
Thank you.
Nice job. Thank you.
Good job.
Do you have anything else, Joel?
No, that's all.
Federal program.
Well, I feel like I'm federal program out right now. Just been to the conference for the last 3 days, but learned some really good information to bring back and some ideas that I'd like to try and instill, or restart here. So it was a really good conference. They had some good breakout sessions. Mrs. Benoit went with me as well, so we divided and conquered so we could get twice the information to bring back. So, big thing, so kind of playing on some of what they were talking about. Alex sent me a grant opportunity about bringing Missouri specialty crops to schools. So there's $4,000 available for the district to bring specialty crops grown in Missouri. So I talked with Kelly Hetchman about how her food and nutrition classes could use those in those classes, but also bring those to the students with like taste tests for the elementary and high school and different things we could do. So we're gonna sit down later this week and try and nail that application out and hopefully get to experience some new Missouri things for the students. So I'm pretty excited about that. And Tracy talked about the NRA grant. We're still waiting to hear back from that. So.
I'm gonna save mine all the things coming up, probably all intertwined with what I wanna say, so unless Mr. Van Dalt has anything he wants to, okay. Yep.
Food service report.
I don't know if you looked, but we had a rat infestation during Halloween week on our donuts. That's the highlight of our flyer this week, so.
Is that Missouri raised rat?
White one.
Locally sourced rat?
I wish, because if those are Missouri rats, they'd be easy to take care of because they don't move. That's it, that's all I have.
Okay, unfinished business, 2024-2025 budget amendments.
So we started doing budget amendments last year to keep current with our expenditures and revenues as they come along. It helps with our annual audit that we do every year. So if you click on that link, you can go ahead and look at some of the original budgeted items for revenues and expenditures and look at what the new budget amount is. I'll go through some of the bigger ones. So the first one there is a basic formula, which you see a pretty significant increase around $170,000. That is because the state of Missouri has increased funding for students. For us specifically, it's for students, the threshold for students we can count who are free or reduced lunches, so that is increased funding, so we need to go ahead and put that in our budget, so we're able to take advantage of those funds now rather than later on. Transportation, that one is somewhat of an estimate at the beginning of the year, so that is we've received our payments now, so we're able to put an accurate amount. As you go through Medicaid, which is trending a little higher than what we anticipated there, from 47,000 to 60,000. The National School Lunch Equipment Grant, it was for the walk-in cooler, I believe.
Yeah.
Lease purchase, we approved that at the October board meeting, so we received those funds. They are now we currently have them invested and be in long-term investments until May, so that's where those are. Ag supplies, so we had a little bit of an increase in how much the welders were going to cost, so that amount reflects what they actually cost once we were able to order them. Elementary library, that is the flexible seating that we replaced Anna's seating.
Come check it out.
It's
It's
nice.
pretty cool.
It's cool. Liability, so you see liability insurance, property insurance. There was a significant increase across the board for pretty much all school districts. That is due to a lot of bad weather that people were basically receiving, putting in insurance claims that increase everyone's insurance premiums. And we saw it for us is about $29,000. And then building improvement other and building improvement bond, you see those two right there. That is that first amount is basically what we thought was going to be the remaining cost for our construction this year, and you see those two final amounts are what the actual costs were. So those are amendments, and we'll update those once if they're approved.
Okay, any questions? Not entertaining approval of the budget amendment.
So
Second.
All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. New business, navigate project final analysis.
All right, we have Corey and Matt from Navigate. You guys have all met them. So I'll sit here and airplay this. Have a little presentation here.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, so we are here again to give a kind of a final project report for all the bond construction projects that are going on. And we'll kind of go through that just to quickly introduce ourselves again. I think we've all met, myself, Matt, and we got Corey here.
Corey Beckster-Mueller.
And so kind of just a brief agenda here, final project schedule update, project budget update, some of the issues that we occurred during construction, some Navigate performance records that we'll share, and then some completed photos, and we'll end with a Q&A.
Yeah, it seems like a long time actually since first walking out here, walking with you, looking at windows and tuck pointing and plaster issues a couple years ago now. My wife's been completely since then, so it's nice to get to this point and actually enjoy what's happened over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
I'll let Matt kind of walk through the schedule here.
Yeah, like Corey said, I think it was just about 2 years ago that we were approached to help with the district going into that next spring with some of the referendum help, and then that summer we were able to kick off the tuck pointing and plaster repairs. So that was completed last summer, 23, and then we had the playground. New playground for the K-5 playground that was also completed last fall of 23. And then some of the schedule completions for the campus improvements. So this was all of the PSR construction work with Bond Architects. So we started that design, back, I guess it was the spring of 23, and then that continued into, so we started about February. There were boots on the ground about that January, February timeframe, and they achieved substantial completion just the 6th, so a couple weeks ago. Their original contract completion was the 30th of October. We came through a few days after that to do the final punch list. That's why it's, that November 6th. And then we're projecting for a final completion. That'll be all the punch list items, getting all the closeout materials, any trainings that are necessary for the district, and we're projecting that December 4th timeframe.
So if you guys will remember, there was a time there I was thinking it'd be December, January by the time we get everything done. And we're all nervous about, when are we gonna get to use this space, that space, and the front entrance was a little later of starting, than what we wanted, but it worked out. And then actually it was October 28th they were done, but we didn't do the punch list till the following week when we had our meeting on November 6th. So weird to me, like I told you guys, there were days there was 50 guys here working. It was like a madhouse, just getting things caught up. So I'm just thankful that it worked out that way, because I'm glad to finally have an office. So anyways, I just wanted to say that about the schedule. It was nice how, and I think the letter you guys sent out, just like that very next week, I mean, there's guys just showing up from all over the place. So thank you for putting the pressure on.
I mean, we have to go through that quite a bit because we see a lot of construction projects, but there's always a cyclical pattern with construction projects where they seem like they go very, very slow. And then they ramp up when the building goes up, and then it feels like they drag on because the building's up and what's going on inside. And then you get to the end where there's all the trades in there one time, you say 50 people on site. It's a very common recurrence of it feels like it goes slow, drags on, all of a sudden it's done. It's not uncommon, but it is a stressful situation on every project, especially with a school being on the front entrance and the main portion of the building that everybody sees all the time when you're gonna be done, is kind of the thought. But I think we try to set up in a phase, set up in a schedule that project has some success, and like you said, that the entrance did drag on a little bit, but I think overall it's a pretty good story. The district is excited and happy about it.
The question I have about that is the punch list, right? Is that big or small? Is that like mixing the sheetrock, or is that deep, big stuff that was missed, or is it we realize was wrong now? I mean, what does that punch list consist
So
of?
I can tell you, like, we just got the cabinet. I told him we got his cabinet. One of the cabinets didn't fit over in the high school office, so the company had to make a new cabinet. So it just arrived today. Some of it's just touch-up painting that they went around and did. Some of it's like the railing hadn't been painted yet because they just got done welding it. So it's just little things. Most of it on that list is done. I believe the tuck pointing guys probably finished up today. They were supposed to. And then the glass guys have to come in and put the window in the door over there in the high school side. Other than that, it's just small stuff. The electrical guys have to come in and hook in the fire alarm system to these doors here. They automatically shut if there's a fire alarm going off. So, but they didn't want to do it because it's going to sound off the fire alarm. So they were looking for a day where there's no school. So they're doing it Wednesday next week. They could have done it a long time ago, but so it's just little things like that. But it didn't amount to a whole lot on that punch list. I didn't think so, not from the prior projects I've done, so.
I will say that it's all important stuff. Even if it's small, it's still important. Right. There was nothing on the list that was earth shattering, like we've got to go backwards and take
That was
apart
my question.
Yes.
Is it something we missed, or is it just run of the mill?
No, it's pretty standard stuff, but I mean, we still get some very important stuff that we want to make sure is done right.
All right, so on to budget. Again, this is pretty high level, but we will go through each of the different, 3 different projects that were involved with all the bond monies. So first is that tuck pointing and plaster repairs. We totaled out at $300,958. The playground ended up around $406,846. The campus improvement projects, obviously the number one, cost item project was $3,917,872. I have a little asterisk just to say there is one final change order. We're anticipating that actually be a slight credit. We had removed some scope, but we're finishing up negotiating that last change order. So that'll come down a few $1,000 is what we're projecting. And then I also have a further breakdown of that cost for the campus improvements on the next slide. I'm gonna jump over to that. So this just kind of breaks down original contract for the contractor PSR was 2.9. And I just show that we had included a $50,000 in unforeseen conditions allowance in that. All that got spent, and then we had an additional $28,000 in change orders. And of course, there is one final change order that'll reduce that a few thousand, but that's the extent of the change orders. Then we had the owner added alternate, so this was the clerestory window restoration, all the kitchen flooring, the cafeteria flooring. I think there might have been one other minor upgrade in some of the finishes in that, but that's where that 363, 874 for the alternates that were added in. So it brings total construction cost 3.3 million. Total of the soft costs. So that would be like your abatement contractor, the owner provided equipment, some like the kitchen equipment, would have been our fees, design fees, any of the professional services for the project would be in that soft cost. And then, so that's where that $3.9 million totals out. We'll jump back to, just real quick, just to show kind of where we were with total of all scopes of the 4.625 million. We had a total owner budget of 4.688. So that is all your funding sources through capital project funds, your bond funds. We had several grants that were applied to the project. So that's all what accounted for that 4.688. So the difference overall is $63,000 under that budget. Is where we're projecting to end up at the end of things. Any questions with costs?
So do we have to pay extra because it took longer to get this completed?
No. No, you're only 6 days beyond, and truthfully, it's not, that was due to the punch list. It didn't take longer to complete it. You guys have met the overall schedule. The contractor was under the responsibility to meet the schedule, not the district. If there was a penalty, it would have went towards the contractor, not on the district.
I was under the impression that a lot of this was supposed to be done before the kids came back to school though.
Just the main entrance there and the facts. Yeah, but it didn't cost the district anything.
Any other questions?
On the PSR change orders, was that because we changed something or they foreseen a problem?
No, well, a lot of it was, so we can go to this next page, but a lot of it, like, there were some design issues in the plans, I'll be honest. Some of it is like, I'll just use a simple example, like there's a piece of conduit that was going across the library. And it was just above the ceiling tiles, and the architects got up there and took pictures and looked around to see what they needed to do. Well, then when it came time to do the construction, there was nothing in the plans about rerouting that conduit, like it was gonna stay there, with the skylights and everything. So that's, to me, those are some, so that was a change order. They had in the plans when they did the clerestory in the cafeteria that they were gonna demolish all the plaster, build new soffits, drywall them, and then paint them, but nobody bothered to ask about the eagle on the wall, so I told the architects, no, absolutely not, and it was cheaper to patch the holes with plaster than it was to resoffit the whole thing. So that was another change order, and all those change orders, some of them did cost more money, some of them not so much. When it got to the shear walls on the firewalls, that was an increase because we you know, had to.
Cause the water pressure issue, right, we could do the
Right.
sprinkler system, so that was the
Yeah,
alternative,
that was
right?
the alternative, was the
Right.
firewall, so.
Yeah, and just to add on to some of those things that Sturgeon was referring to, we wanted to kind of highlight some of the, key, areas of maybe the concern with, during construction or prior to construction, pre-con. You've already touched on a few of them, but we just listed out here some of those items, water suppression system. So this was because we expanded the building. The preferred method is to introduce a fire suppression system. Through discussions with the city and the water company, we didn't have the right flow. We didn't have the volume of water to be able to supply that. So it was gonna cause us to have to put in a pump and a water tank or water tower. So we went back to the drawing board, investigated that a little bit further to decide that one other method was to just create these firewalls, which contains that front entrance area a little bit more. It's not maybe as open, but that was just something that we had to go through. It took a lot of effort, at the beginning of the project. But that's that water suppression system item. The new secure entrance front offices, Amy touched on this a little bit with some of the structural design elements. We also had some contractor, just some labor concerns with some of their masons and the steel erectors to get us to that entrance area to be completed. That's what, some of the issues that why that caused that schedule to push for that front entrance area. Kitchen expansion, there was a detail that was missed on one of the footings, so it's, there's kind of a structural issue. That didn't, that affected the schedule obviously, but it was a footing issue, and that was a change order that ended up having to go to PSR. Fax classroom, this is really, like, we had several things in there. I think a lot of it was just getting the equipment to work with the space. We had some issues with some cabinetry and, getting equipment to fit. Some of it was just a matter of understanding what the purpose of the equipment was. And then other parts was fabrication of the actual cabinets, and not having the right size openings for fitting some of the equipment. So we're work through the contractor to get some of those items corrected, and I think we're still working on trying to get some of the doors for those cabinets. Library and cafeteria, I think Andy hit it on the head with the logo. That was a big thing when the contractor came through and identified, hey, this is gonna be supposed to come out. We said, well, no, we don't wanna take that out, so we worked with the contractor to eliminate that scope of actually taking the plaster out, provided credit for the actual framing and the drywall and the paint. So you get freshly coated paint, but all the other stuff would come out. And we touched on the conduit through the library. That was just something that was missed during design. The elementary office, I think this was a finishes concern. We quickly had that addressed with some wall covering. Contractor was able to just use some paint instead. And then some of the new central office concerns, there was a wall that wasn't really needed. I think we were able to eliminate that. That's a part of, I think, this last bit of.
So in talking to the architect, like this room, for example, they had building a wall right up against that wall. And why would you do that? Well, so that it's drywall, so that you can run a data cable and an outlet for your TV. And I was like, it is a drywall wall already, and so it just didn't make sense to me. And I said, well, I already got a plug-in on that wall and data cable, we don't need that, but that was in there. And she's like, well, we must be looking at the old plans. And I think on some of this, maybe they had some of the old plans, because she says, we have it as a masonry wall. I said, well, it's drywall, I can punch a hole through it, it's drywall. And then they had this wall coming out, well, you're gonna have cabinets here anyway, so why take that wall out? You know, just this little piece, there's just things like they brought in these 2 huge beams and laid them in the hallway, and those were to go across the hallway to support the HVAC units in the fax classroom. You pop a ceiling tile, you're gonna notice pretty quick there is nowhere to go with those beams. And so then, you know, when you do a change order like that, then it's like, okay, you gotta send it back. Then the engineer's gotta take a week or 2 to look at it and make heads or tails of it and come up with, it just seems like it takes forever, and then finally come up with a solution. But it was just little things like that between the lack of communication, I feel, with the architects, and the plans, I felt like the plans had some missing pieces here and there.
Did the architects come on site? Is it common for them? I mean,
They came on site, they walked through, did a site evaluation. I think their detailers must not have been the person that came on site. I think they had different people there. We did work through the fax issue, the HVAC. I can tell you that was, I think it was a claim for about $50,000 for a change order. And so we pushed back and worked that ended up being about $6,000 when we were done. So we, just because those issues showed up, we didn't roll over and say, all right, this is all the district. It was trying to figure out where's the resolution come from. So they took a little bit of time going through, making sure we weren't stuck in a bad position for the owners that were walking through those issues. I'd say that the big ones that were the problems were the structural footing, and there was a structural steel detail missing up on the main entrance were the big ones that hurt.
It's done. And just, you know, find different architects next time.
Let's go to the next.
They're engineers.
it might be a common issue.
So, talking about that, we've worked through this process with you guys. I know we always tell everybody we're gonna save them more money than it cost, and we track it through the process because we wanna make sure that we can validate it. I mean, it's what keeps us employed, keeps you guys happy, and brings us back for future work, or just maybe in a reference for future work. On this project here, we've identified $507,000 worth of value that was like that change order. The plaster repair was a big one. There was a large budget set for that, and we were able to find an efficient way to do that along with the tug point. Take out what it cost to have navigated part of this project, there's still an additional $161,000 that was never taken for the district, but the district was able to roll into projects, roll into your budget. So I think that's a great story, walking through how to create competitive bid packages to make it more efficient for you guys. Negotiating the design team, we had to push back on the design team during their negotiation, reduce their reimbursables, clean up some of the matrix stuff, not pay for them to design furniture that wasn't necessary, so we took that out of their contract. The contractor scope clarification, so there's always claims from contractors, it's not uncommon, and then you have to walk through the plans and show them, you should have had this on bid date. If you missed it, I'm sorry, but here it is, black and white. So it's going through and kind of trying to clarify some of those items, and then the change order negotiations, like the HVAC one we talked about there at the end, or the electric conduit in the library above ceiling was like a $17,000 claim that we ended up settling for about $5,500. I mean, so there's a lot of those things that add up through the process, and not to say that the contractor didn't lose money doing that. They wouldn't have did it losing money. It's just trying to find the most efficient way to get it done.
Well, the thing I can speak of from the last time I did this, I didn't, have the ability to argue that. They'd say, well, you don't have no idea. This is what it costs to do it. So through this process of meeting every 2 weeks, there'd be a change order, and they'd be like, this is how much it's gonna cost. And these guys would be, no, we've had our guys look at it. It should be about this much. And sure enough, then they back it off. So it was kind of nice to have that, and part of me is wondering in the last project, how much money could I have saved?
That was kind of my question, was knowing these change orders come in, right? Do they set it high, knowing you guys are gonna beat them down, so, I mean, is that?
It's not that they set it high because there's no competition.
Right, obviously, we had one
You
bid.
get your best numbers on bid day, and after that, there is no competition anymore. At that point, I'm the only person putting a number to it, this is what I think the numbers are worth, you gotta be able to push back and understand how can you validate that. You can push back to, on the hours and try to figure out where's it really at, or give me the correct backup on the material, and show me, it's really just pushing back and making sure that, a lot of times it's not even the GC, it's just maybe a sub who's just, here's my number, cause I don't wanna put any time into it, the GC just passes it on, says, this is the number I got from XYZ subcontractor, this is what it costs. But if you could push back and say, we need to verify it, justify it, and we think it's really this, you can start to push back a little bit, and understand that.
But to your point, I mean, I think when we started, we were getting a lot of lump sum change orders, it's just, hey, this is one number is what it's gonna cost. Well, in their contract, we specifically say what kind of backup you're supposed to provide with your change order request, and so they have to provide us with material, man hours, equipment, everything that, then, once they start doing that, that's when they start realizing, well, some of that's gonna get scrutinized. That's the stuff we look for, is, well, is it fair and reasonable to say it's gonna take you 10 hours or 2 hours to do this project?
That's a really good point though, because they're contractually required to do it. It was in the bid documents that we're gonna go down this road, here's how we're gonna take it down this road. It wasn't a request after the fact, here's the change order, well, here's what I want to see, and this week, I don't need to do that. They are contractually required because it was set up in the front end documents before it went out to bid, that if we get into a change order scenario, here's the process we take, here are the steps. I mean, that is critical to get it in there before they're under contract. So there is no argument about it, this is the process we've set in place and everybody's agreed to it. And that they have, the GC will have the same conversation with their subs, and it was in the documents, we're required to do this, this is the backup necessary.
All right, so you have projected items to complete. I know they're gonna be back on site, next week to finish up a few things. They got some punch list items to complete. I think we're scheduled to be back out here on the 4th to kind of do one back pass of the punch list, make sure everything's buttoned up. Also, by that point, we should have all their closeout documentation, so all the owner operating manuals, maintenance manuals for equipment, any attic stock that is extra, that the owner is to take over, that kind of stuff. And then we're finally doing final negotiations on the final change order, and that's, like I said, it's 3 or 4 items. It should be a net credit at the end of the day.
A couple million, right?
Yeah. For the next project. But yeah, so I'd envision by, either December or January to have like a final payment, pay request for the contract.
Yeah, that's not to say.
And the PSR foreman's been here every day, and he says he will be until all the subcontractors are done with their punch lists, so.
I was saying, when Matt says December, January, that's getting all the paperwork done. It's not like they're gonna be here doing work in January, it's trying to get all the affidavits from the subs, the certified payroll, all the final, it's getting all that final paperwork wrapped up. It will take some time, especially getting it from through the sub, through the GC. Get all the warranties, get all that stuff in place for you guys. Fun stuff.
Alright, yeah, so some of the completion photos, I know everybody's kind of seen these. I wish I would've had some before and after, but I'm sure looks like you already have some of that going up, but, yeah, just revitalizing those cafeteria and library spaces. We just head scratcher why they would close that stuff up at some point, but obviously it's refreshed and back open and a lot of natural light. The kitchen or is the fax classroom, so, this is commercial grade, kitchen space, so hopefully they get a lot of use out of it, a lot of practical experience. So some of the front office area in the new addition, and then obviously boardroom here. And that concludes the presentation. Any other questions?
Just at a high level, based on some of the, what the biggest impact of the issues as far as it sounds like a lot was architectural, engineering, et cetera. The ones that cost us the most time on that project or within the project, what would you guys say looking back or recommend, what would we or should we do differently next time to help with that as far as?
I wouldn't put it all on the architect design. I think there was some it was across the board, we had some issues with the contractor with, glazing was a big one for us, pushing the timeline back. It was just trying to procure some of the materials that glazing hurt. And then I think the mason, the glazing, the mason, and the roofer, those are the three that really struggled to get on site. The ones that I would push back on the design team and what we can do different is, what we've taken as a lesson learned is a little deeper dive in the structural plans. The structural plans were used for the kitchen area and used over here when we could have cleaned up the structural over here to not match the kitchen area. But I think pushing back on that structural design a little bit, and financially, we've done some comparisons and it wasn't a big burden financially for the structure here, but time-wise it was. It was a much slower process than putting your traditional barge hoist to metal deck. But I think that would be the big time consumer. It's school projects that are summer projects are always tough. It just across the board, it's inherent to schools trying to pack everything into the summer. And I know we got an early start in the spring, it turned over some early, but it's tough to do a project in that time frame. So we did try to set up a phasing plan and a schedule to get us to end of the year. But I do think that's our big lessons learned is identifying that critical path, identifying the subs that are on that critical path, which have been mason, roofing, and the glazer unfortunately became critical path. And then to stay on top of that with the GC, checking in a little more, and pushing back on the narrative of, well, I only have one contractor to choose from. That's not the case.
And some of that could have been put on us as a board, right? We could have, as a board, said, this is a lot going on for a small window of time. Maybe we should take chunks out of this instead of just, saying, yeah, let's go whole hog, on this, hoping for a summer, to get it all knocked out, so.
But I don't know I'm not really sure where you could slice a piece of that out.
Right,
I mean,
right.
It's
maybe the
like
front
you do one
entrance,
side.
well, because the facts couldn't happen without running the plumbing through the front entrance, I guess, right? So.
But there's a checks and balance there, because when you do that, the cost starts going up.
Right.
Because you lose efficiency and supervision. I mean, so I don't wanna put this in a bad way, but sometimes the heartburn is worth it in the long run.
Right,
It's a tough couple months here at the beginning of the school year, but in the long run, it was the right
Probably
decision.
more efficient doing it the way we did it,
Yes.
but it's easy to look back on and say, if we would've just took baby steps maybe or something,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, now we feel the heartburn too, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Who owns the plans? So, like, that would be my next question, so looking forward.
In a traditional AIA contract, the architect owns the plans and you have to pay a licensing fee. But Navigate always modifies AIA contracts, so you guys own the plans. We've set it up where you own the plans.
And then updating of the plans.
Well, the ones I have aren't updated.
Oh, you're talking about at the end here doing like a.
Yeah, so like, what path do we have to make sure we get,
So
some of
the
the
contractor
changes
owes-
made to it, so next time we're not, maybe it's better to start from.
The contractor owes us some red line drawings, and I'd have to go back and check Bond's, contract to see if, I don't think we had them going back into like, BIM or CAD or anything, but usually we have them incorporate them into a PDF. I'll have to go back and double check their contract and verify what that is, but at bare minimum, we get red line drawings from the contractor, things turned over that we should incorporate into a PDF set.
We might wanna look into, like, making sure that even if we wanna spend some money to get them, like.
When I talked to Rebecca, she said when this project's completely done with all the change orders, I would get a new set of plans, so.
Yeah,
I wanna make sure.
Anything that they changed, like a detail.
Yeah.
Yes. What I'm thinking of is more of like the contractor said, hey, the plan said to put an electric line right here, we pushed it over here.
Right.
No, those red lines are the tough stuff, but the detail changes, yes, they need to have those in the plans.
And then just to make sure that it's true, so that, next project,
Right.
we don't have a block wall stuff, left in there or
Right.
whatever it may be.
Right, yeah.
Even if we need to spend some money if we need to go above and beyond PDF.
Well, I remember sitting down at the first meeting and you guys said you'd save us money and let us get more done. It seems like
If you go back to
followed through.
if you go back to the Klinger's presentation and all these, the cost was a lot higher. There's no way we'd have gotten this many things done, so.
It all looks great.
Awesome.
Really good.
Thank you. It's been great for us. Yeah, I enjoyed I enjoy working for clients like you guys more than I do in the bigger city clients. This is a much more refreshing atmosphere, trust me.
Friendlier faces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get to say the Pledge of Allegiance at every board meeting, just so you know.
No, I personally wanted to thank Mr. Turgeon and Alex, some of the staff. I mean, it really was a fun project. I know we had challenges along the way, but coming up here and seeing what you guys are doing up here, really is, cool. And we look forward to seeing what you guys are able to use the space for.
Awesome.
I could have the fax make them a pan of brownies or something.
Oh, no, we've fed him a few times.
Yeah, thanks for your work.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
We'll keep your business, guys.
Thanks for your work.
Thanks.
Just tell your neighbors.
Kirksville's doing something, I don't know.
We have to control the labor, because if we need,
We're running Kirksville.
Are you good?
if we need something else done, if someone in Kirksville, all the labor's gone, so we won't be able to do anything.
Kirksville, Palmyra, Canton, you guys, and then North Callaway. We're kind
Sent some
of,
contractors our way that wanna be a competitor.
yeah, we brought PSR over to Kirksville, and still, I mean, during all this, even though you're managing, working through that, it's done in a respectful manner that they're still gonna come back. I mean, they came and bid our work in Kirksville still during this process, so, I think it's been good.
Right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Have a good night. Be safe.
Move on to strategic plan, goals, and objectives, evaluation report, communication.
Communication, so this is obviously something that's really important to us as a district, and we talk about a lot, what's the best way to communicate with parents, with all stakeholders, and it's something that we can never be perfect at, just because it's hard to, it's a moving target sometimes as what avenue is the best, and we've tried to really diversify that this year, and using text message and Facebook and newspaper and all the different avenues that we have at our disposal to try to best do that. The program service evaluation that we'll go over is specifically kind of geared towards what we're doing to kind of reach parents, but really we're trying our best to get information, as much information out as possible. And as you go through our program's evaluation, the success of the program, that's the first item that we'll go over. I think one of the newest things that we've done from last year anyway is the 8th grade scheduling night that the guidance counselors have, our school counselors have done. That's Taylor Parrish, and I know Kelly Carlson's helped as well, is they're bringing in fresh or 8th grade students at the end of their 8th grade year to help schedule with their parents and help them understand credits and graduation requirements and different things that are available to them. That has always been as a role, or talking to an 8th grader sometimes alone, or as a freshman whenever they're going through that process, it's kind of hard for them to understand the importance of what classes they take and how that's really going to affect them 4 years down the line. So that night and being able to sit down, whether it's, I think it's usually a small group or just with that individual student, and helping them understand as well as a parent what they need to do to make sure that they're graduating on time, they can participate in all the activities they want to, and really have that 4-year plan hammered out after that evening has been a huge benefit to the district and to parents and really the community.
At the high school level, one I've thought, the Jared's Jams summer work experience, and with that, our kids are able to, it's a partnership between the Center of Human Services, Voc Rehab, Special Ed Department, Counseling and Career. So you got a lot of different groups coming together and getting kids jobs up at Jared's Jams, and they have a job coach that helps teach them the skills needed. It was really amazing to go in there and listen to those kids, and I know some of you guys were there, but just the confidence they had and being able to listen to them after going through the 20 hours a week and how many ever, I think 6 weeks or whatever it was pretty amazing to see some of those kids come out of their shell, and just the confidence that we were able to showcase there.
And there's some other community businesses that have been interested in joining that summer program, so they could get some other experiences other than just Jared's Jams. Might
Cool.
pique some more interest, so.
Yeah, that's great. That was pretty, it was very enjoyable, very rewarding to see the outcome of that. It's pretty special.
I'd say in the elementary, some of the bigger areas, we've really been honing in on our young ones to build that early, of how that parent involvement in school is very important. So even through play, so like we're Roberta has increased her PAT activities and the outreach with that and her visits, and then the same thing with preschool play in the park. That was totally the preschool teachers, but they're like, we need to get our families so that they're building this connection of these are our people, these are our teachers, and just really, you know, building that we are a team, we all work together for the support of your child, for the success of your child. So just starting it and then continuing it from there.
And I think adding the family night to the activity night has, you know, hopefully that will just, because that's one of the things we strive with Title is to increase, that's a whole big component of that Title program is parent involvement. So any ways we can involve the families more is just another way, and provide them an education piece as well.
Recommended changes needed to achieve goals and objectives. So one of the big things that we're working on is really like talk about diversifying how we were able to connect with the community. I think in the past we've really relied on Facebook, which is great for a certain population of people in the community, but it doesn't reach everybody. So really trying to focus on how can we get in the newspaper more, like getting on the radio, you know, sending out text messages. That is really some of the best avenues we have with parents is text messaging. We didn't really lead into that until the last couple of years, being able to really identify who it needs to go to and then specifically reaching out to them. So that's been a huge benefit, and it's something that we need to get better at though, because I know there's still people who don't know all the great things going on at school and just want to be able to celebrate what students are achieving here at Knox. Actions to be taken. The next, so one of my favorite programs every year is the art showcase. And the name's kind of a misnomer at this point, because what it started out was Mrs. Lucas would have her art show and she would put on a display of all their artwork, and you go around and you'd vote, and they'd have a celebration at the end of the students who were able to win whatever categories they won with the ribbon, and then they end up having their pieces hung up in the office throughout the year. But what it's turned into is the choir sings, Mrs. Hutchman is able to showcase her design class. Mr. Green is able to show his, and really that's starting to turn into more of a community showcase at night. If you've ever attended one during the day, it's great to be able to see students at work and show how prideful they are in the things that they are creating. And really what we're doing is creating that in the evening, and I just really like to see that continue to grow. So and continue to have more and more stakeholders and community members attend that.
And also tying into the Jared's Jam things and just getting more businesses and getting more community leaders involved with out here at the school. And the FFA went around and showed appreciation and given, so just doing different things and inviting those businesses out. I know for showcase days, we're having a couple different businesses show up and just doing different things of showing appreciation and doing things, getting them involved.
Changes made in the last 2 years, really the changes that were made in the last week. We're hosting Rotary once a month here in the boardroom, and it was just fun. It was that last Thursday, I believe, that we're able to have FFA, and they did a very similar program for Rotary and is well attended. And I think one, they're able to see the new facility, which is great, and then just creating those connections and sparking some good ideas through the kids coming in and talking about things that are going on. I think, like Mr. Carper said, as those conversations and some of those meetings happen, I think we're going to be able to really dive into like how can we better partner with businesses in the community, because we do a great job of promoting what we have, but how can we continue to partner and build in the programming inside and outside the school district. The last thing I want to add, we added in career ladder over the last couple of years, and as you look at the changes made in the last 2 years, a lot of that is because that was approved, and we're funding that because of like kids club at basketball games. It's been a huge game changer in providing, I guess, babysitting services during basketball, which I enjoy because there's, my kids are over there, and there's less people who are running up and down the hallways, and they're having a structured activity with the snack, and it's been a great thing. But really, the turkey trot, the color run, all those things are really because we're able to lean in and take advantage of career ladder.
Turkey shots this weekend if you wanna run.
I need to run.
Say, I mean, there's like the fun run, and then you can do 5K, I mean, whatever. That's usually always fun. Turkey walk,
Yeah.
you should walk. You can walk, I do the walk.
Safety.
Once again, I'm back to talk to you about, is my role as a district safety coordinator, kind of where we stand as a district. I'll tell you, it's a little bit of a misnomer. Safety coordinator is what the Missouri School Boards Association recommends we call ourselves. I would tell you, safety is a much bigger issue than where 90% of my focus goes, which is primarily on physical security and emergency response for the district. Safety is a thing that, from buses to bleachers to slip, trip, and fall in the school, there are a whole bunch of people who are very directly involved, from administrators to Joe Holman to Gary Mayer, who have very close supervision by people like the Missouri State Highway Patrol, music, organizations like that come in and give them very close inspections to look at what they can do in the building. My focus, again, it was about 90% on security and emergency response for the building. So our standards, which are, these are the things we want to make sure we do all the time, are unchanged from last year. Didn't make any changes to those. The metrics for how we measure those, which were primarily from surveys and reports from DESE, as to our staff, faculty, and students and parents, and how they feel about security and safety, and you can see those up there, are primarily measured by survey. Security is one of those things, fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, the best way to find out how secure we are is to actually have an event. We don't want to have to use that to find out how secure we are. So we have to rely a lot on perceptions of the people who are out here, who live out here, and their parents and their families. So we lean on that pretty hard. If you'll flip to the next one there. Again, those records are what tell us how we're doing, and then if you go down to the next one, these are kind of the outcomes. The sorts of things we use right now, again, are the surveys that go up through DESE, and you can kind of see what the results are there. Those are virtually the same as they were last year. So overall, and that doesn't mean there aren't exceptions out there, but overall, this is the way people feel about going to school here in Knox County. And I can tell you that when you have very visible things like these front entrances that you paid a lot of money to have installed in this building, that makes people feel a lot better. Staff and faculty feel safe at school. Kids know how to report. Those are important things. But really, the next slide I'll kind of show you is, this is where I'm really starting to focus now. Is, I would say, the last 3 years, basically my focus has been on making sure that this building and our response procedures are the best they can possibly be as far as security and protecting us from significant events, not only natural disasters, but also man-made disasters. That kind of looks at, if you think about a timeline, the left side of the event, right? We've not really focused a lot on, okay, what happens after the event occurs, and over to the right side. So what I'm trying to do now is sort of transition over. I don't make a lot. I make a couple of small changes every year, still looking on that left side, because there's always something we can do a little bit better. With the first responders this year, we had a discussion about improving their access to get into classrooms inside the building, which was a major finding of Uvalde, Texas. They had access to get into the building, but then they found out they didn't have access to get into classrooms, and they couldn't find administrators or people with keys to get in. So we've improved that process. So there's always a little something that we can do that makes things better, but again, we're looking to the right side. One of the big ones, and it fits really well with what your administrators were just talking about, is improving our communication with the community. And this is one of those things where, you know, we don't deal in classified information, but we have to be careful when we share information that we're not at the same time revealing vulnerabilities that we have out here at the school. So I guess what I would tell you is I'd always be happy if you want to have me in a closed session and talk about some very specific things that we could get better on out here. As far as reunification procedures, things like that, I would be happy to do that, obviously. But we are still right now, and I'm in the process of trying to, I guess, refine the way that we communicate with the community. Reunification is a great example. So I'm trying to come up with a method that lets parents know, here are the procedures that we're gonna go through after a major event here at the school. It could be an evacuation of the school from a bomb threat. It could be an active shooter event, an intruder event, some reason that we have to evacuate the school. The school, us, we are all responsible for what happens during that process. The sheriff's department, the highway patrol, there isn't anybody else who's going to be in charge. We as a school district are in charge of that. And then we also have to be prepared to communicate what's going on with families. They have to know where they need to go to pick up their kids and to take them home, because it's not going to be from here. The last thing we want in that situation is for parents and families coming here to try to pick up kids, and an obvious example is a bomb threat. We don't want more people coming to the building. So I want to refine that communication, make that better. We have ways here at the school. Alex talked about some of those. Text messaging is a really good one. It's my preferred, because people always look at their texts. They'll ignore Facebook for 2 days. They might not look at email for a month, but when a text goes off, they'll check their phones, okay? Some other things you can see there, the annual tabletop, that's a change. I would like to do that on a Saturday morning. We've tried doing it during professional development. Everybody has a lot going on. First responders, you know, I want to get them into it. Sometimes we had a pretty good showing of highway patrol last year, but a lot of those people have full-time jobs, everyday jobs, as do a lot of people who sit in here. Saturday morning sometimes is a time that you kind of unplug from all of that and come and actually focus on a tabletop exercise. Tabletop is simply a talk through of, for example, evacuation of the building and then the reunification. You know, how are we getting them out of here? How are we getting them to the reunification site? How are we notifying parents? What messages are we sending out? And then, huge one, what are the processes once we get to the reunification site? Because we don't have, what's your new student information system now?
Infinite campus.
Yeah, we don't really have that available now to assist us in that process. So a grown-up walks up and says, I'm here to pick up those 3 kids. And another major factor is we are very likely going to depend upon neighboring school districts, ministerial alliance, people like that to assist us in that process of reunifying kids with parents. because we don't have enough teachers and office administrators to help through that process. Not to mention the fact some of them may have other things on their minds too. So that community now expands not only out to first responders and parents and families, but also neighboring school districts. What I would envision is some sort of a reciprocal agreement between us and, say, Scotland County. If something bad happens, you come to help us. If something bad happens to you, we'll come to help you. Okay. I have a requirement to go to continuing education. There's a good one that focuses exactly on what we're talking about, crisis communication and planning. December 5th and 6th, I plan to go to that. And then I always come back to this. Nurse Kathy now has been to a higher level of casualty response training, medical training. I would like for us to develop a forum where she can share some of that information with some of our staff and faculty here in the building. Bad enough for something bad to happen, even worse for somebody to not make it because nobody knew how to apply a tourniquet or nobody knew how to put on a pressure bandage. Slide on that. Thank you. That list, I told Mr. Turgeon and Alex, I said when I sit down and I write it, it feels really good. Those are a lot of accomplishments that frankly, you know, if we don't have a situation like we have here where I'm kind of able to focus on this, these just become extra things for those guys to do. And it's hard. And I will tell you, in my capacity as a Strategos instructor, I get to go to places like Ventura County in Southern California. I get to go to Clark County, Scotland County, Schuyler County, a lot of places around. We are doing great. The facilities we have, the physical security we have, the planning we have is exactly what we need. The places in California, I will tell you, many of them are far behind us as far as physical security. That's not their faults. It's kind of a situation where their infrastructure was built a certain way and times have kind of raced past them, and now they're in a position of, you know, what we did here being like one of the least things they can do. I mean, they need to spend a lot more money on physical security. So we are doing great as far as staying on top of it. That said, like the old cliche, you're only strong as your weakest link. So you can spend millions of dollars on secure front entrances, and if you see somebody propping a door open out back, none of this matters, right? So we have to continue to press within the building, stress with our kids and our parents that we have to continue to get better and to watch out for each other. One of the things we had buzz around and go back to communication was you know, I would like to have a way to communicate with parents to talk to them about things like the erroneous text message that flew around that kind of got everybody's attention that there was a threat of a shooting here in this district, and it actually had nothing to do with this district. I want parents to understand they have to play a part in squashing stuff like that and stopping those rumors, not letting them spread and sow panic when we know that wasn't actually a threat here in our district. But again, it's a hard process. I'm trying to find some ways to improve on that, but that's kind of what I'm focused on for next year. And I think that's it. Any questions for me?
Thank you for everything you do.
All right. Good work. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next patient, entertain a motion for approval of the strategic plan goals and objectives evaluation reports.
So moved.
Second.
Favor? Opposed, motion carries. Setting dates for April 8th, 2025 election. Instead of 24.
Yeah, 2025. Okay, good catch. I'll let, Alex wrote a nice, motion, so I'll let him read it.
ChatGPT.
Set the dates for the Board of Education candidate filing for 2 positions to begin December 10th, 2024 from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and end December 31st, 2024 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. All other days to file will be during regular business hours from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Filing will not occur on any days the district superintendent's office is closed due to inclement weather. Filing will also not occur from December 23rd, 2024 through December 30th, 2024 due to the superintendent's office being closed for the holidays.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Okay, we're down to board policies.
Yeah, there's just a few.
Not very many at all.
So I try and just do a few here and there, and then I get busy, and then I forget, and I was like, oh, I better send some to the board members, so you got 2 big batches, so. So first off, just to explain the process, I take the policy that we have, when it was adopted, and then I look at the state, requirements, which would be our policy agents, which is MCE. I make sure our policies have everything they need, if they match. Sometimes they don't match, but that's because we've adopted some of our own language to fit our school. None of these policies, these match exactly, so that's what I do is I make sure they match. Reading through the policy, then I try and find out who does this apply to, so I'll take a copy and I'll say, make sure you read through this and look it over. Just so people remember, or if they didn't know, hey, did you know this exists? So it's just a good practice for everybody to kind of go through all these policies, including board members. I try and send you just a little, this is what it's about, but if you want to read more, you can click on it. But these policies that are on here, the 2100s deal with student rights, the 2200s deal with admission into school, and then the 2300s deal with attendance, part-time, full-time. There's no changes on these policies, so all we're doing is re-adopting them, so there's a nice fresh date saying we've revisited these, we know they exist, we've looked at them. I can go in detail on each one if you want me to.
So moved.
Did I go in detail?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
I move that we adjourn the regular session to go into closed session for the purpose of considering the students under section 610.021, subsection 6 and 14 RSMO, personnel under section 610.021, subsection 3 and 13 RSMO.
Second.
Ms. Bew?
Yes.
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Mrs. Devlin?
Yes.
Ms. Jansen?
Yes.
Mr. Reel?
Yes.
Mr. Peebler?
Yes.
Mr. Doss?
I was gonna get ready to say.
I'm reading underneath your shoulder.
Used to do.
Is that everybody?
Those are I sent my message. Here's the deal.